I just think if somebody's listening to this, that they're even considering like a creative industry job or like something in events, to just do it because it's so much fun.
Louise reporting for duty.
Roll 5-minute countdown, production take.
Copy that.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Green Room, the podcast where we uncover the backstage stories of the live events world. I'm Louise Carls, and in today's episode, we're diving into the journey of Emily Pugh, a freelance event manager who has done an impressive amount in her 3 years in the industry, including winning the UK Music's Outstanding MAP Graduate 2024. Emily will be sharing insights into her career path, some advice on freelancing, and a few memorable stories from her unique experiences that shaped her passion for the events industry. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
And welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I have been following everything that you do in the last 3 years, more or less.
Yeah.
And it's just so impressive. I am just in awe. I'm just always like, oh my God, she's doing this. That's so cool. How is it going for you and what are you working on at the moment?
It's just been going really well. Obviously, you said I've been in the industry for 3 years, but it's only since April, so about 6 months ago, that I became freelance. And I've been so busy working on so many different events and like some dream events as well. And it's been a really good decision, and I'm just enjoying working so much. And yeah, at the moment, I'm working a lot with the Music Works in Gloucester. They are a charity that kind of focus on getting disadvantaged young people into music and helping them with production and performing. So we've got a Creative Industries Day next week, which I've been pulled in last minute as like event assistant, which has been, thank you. It's been quite full on to take everything on board, but so that's kind of the next thing, really.
That's so cool. Thank you for that. Just to give our listeners a bit more background, you spent a couple of years with Natasha Russell Events Limited, working on quite a wide range of events, from corporate gatherings, especially in London, but also all around the UK, really, to large-scale festivals like Glastonbury, for instance, which is quite a cool thing, and often supporting music events and artist showcases. So with such a diverse array of roles, could you describe to us just a little bit, like in your own words, the full range of activities that you handle in your daily work?
Yeah, so I just learned so much about the events industry from that job, because it was really the first proper role that I'd had out of uni. And I'm grateful to Natasha for trusting me with it, because I was the first employee that she brought on, and just to experience like quite a lot of responsibility so early on in my career. Learning lots about production and like things like invoicing and stuff that's really boring, but it's actually so useful to know. Just learning about production schedules, like artist management, and dealing with contractors and tricky situations that you might come across on site. And I think that's really helped shape me into, first of all, knowing what events I enjoy and what I don't, because my degree was music business, and so doing those corporate events, I loved being on site for them, but the lead up, not so much. So that just really honed the fact that I just really wanted to focus on music and festivals. But I still had that really good foundation of just understanding how to now run my business and deal with clients in a professional way, and come in with like really helpful ideas. And I'm just very grateful for that job, because I was there for 2.5 years. So.
Yeah, that's quite a lot already, especially as I know that Natasha is doing so many different things. So I suppose it gave you quite a good overview of literally everything.
Yeah.
And I've also really always thought that understanding the before helps you in the after bit, like in the during bit actually, because most of the time, quite a lot of people just arrive for the duration of the festival or duration of the event, and they might not always understand all the work that is before and why some decisions have been made like this and so on. So I think having an understanding of all the advancing helps being a better deliverer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're just so much more personally involved in the people and the relationships that you've built up beforehand. So then when you meet them at the event or on site, you've already got this just background and understanding of them and how it's going to run, and the little like quirky things that if you had not been involved in the pre-planning, you wouldn't necessarily know that they were going to come up, and that could be like quite a big obstacle maybe on site. And I've definitely seen that with the jobs that I've done this summer. One of my biggest roles was sustainability manager at Nosdok Festival. And because I did all of the planning for that in terms of recruiting all of my volunteers and, you know, sending out pre-coms and talking to a lot of the staff beforehand over email, just made my experience on site so much better, because I was able to have more of a personal relationship with lots of people that I met there, rather than coming in not knowing anybody beforehand and having to just get to know everyone on site, which can be really overwhelming sometimes.
No, absolutely. And actually, that's quite an interesting one, because festivals more and more are interested in being sustainable and in being, you know, really aware of the obstacles and of how much of a big footprint they can leave. How was being that? How was this role?
I think this role at Nosdok was a bit different to sustainability manager at another festival, because it was the last year that they knew the event would be running. So we didn't do the whole kind of carbon footprint monitoring and stuff and data capturing as you would do at another big scale event. So it was the responsibilities weren't quite as broad as I'd hoped, but it was still just, I think you've just got to be really fun about it, and they definitely have a lot of cool policies, such as like the Green Artist Award, Eco Trader. So I judged those competitions and
so cool.
Made sure they got their prizes, and we did a tree planting thing. Nosdok have this like celebrity avenue, so each year their favorite artist plants a tree. And so I think it's just, because sustainability can be seen as quite like an overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, we're all going to die if we don't sort this situation out. You've got to approach it from like just a way that you can engage everybody in something that doesn't seem so daunting. And that just like, if everybody takes that one bag of rubbish, then they're really actually making quite a big difference.
100%.
And the site was so clean afterwards. Honestly, it was really nice to see.
Especially for a festival, most of the time it is quite difficult to actually, you know, pick up all the rubbish, and just to make sure that we are just wary and really keeping in mind that we all have a footprint, really. I think festivals are actually getting better and better about that.
Yeah, definitely. And the problem is, you're never going to create a fully sustainable festival. It's just not possible. That's how events are. But the more we can try and improve it, the better we're going to feel as well, knowing that we're not having this really damaging impact to the environment.
Absolutely. Actually, I think my first question when I saw all the different things that you were doing was, how do you actually stay organized? Because it must be, I imagine it must be so difficult to maybe in one day receive one email about this project, one email about this project, and then an entire task to do on another project and so on. How do you manage that? How do you stay so adaptable?
I think I don't really know, to be honest, actually.
You're just so talented.
No, not in that way. Just like, I found the summer quite intense, because I had my on-site jobs where I'd be there for like 7 days a week, if not more. or 7 days in a row. And then I had my 8 hours a week for the music works to manage alongside that. And I think with my role at the Music Works, I was just really open with them and like, look, this week I'm just not going to be able to manage it. Can I make up for it the week before or the week after? And just trying to be as real as possible with the people that I work with.
Yeah.
I just think as well in our industry, if you send an email, you're not expecting an instant reply.
Yeah.
And I think I appreciate that a lot with who we work with. Unless you're, under a strict deadline.
Yeah.
It's okay to not reply straight away to an email. You can see it come in and then, put it on your to-do list and think, right, I'm going to set this time aside to go back and look at that.
Yeah, and process it.
Yeah, I do. I think, that's what I do. I keep a to-do list. Or if I can't get back to them, I'll just say, look, I'm really busy. Usually I'll set an out of office anyway.
Yeah.
I'm quite busy at the moment, but I'll get back to you when I can. And I think that was what I struggled with as well over the summer, is then preempting the autumn and also trying to look for work whilst I'm just super busy on site doing like 15-hour days.
Gosh, my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's quite a challenge, I would say. But actually, what attracts you in undertaking so many different projects? Because it is also quite a fair amount of stress. So what actually attracts you in doing that?
The problem is with me, it is a problem because
there's no problem with you.
I'm never at home. But I feel like when I'm on site at an event, it doesn't feel like work. Like I just enjoy being in that environment so much. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, it's busy, but it just, I don't know, there's something really exciting. It's like being in a city, and like a new city, isn't it? When like everything's bustling around you and like, oh my God, I'm part of something. That's kind of the buzz I get from being at an event. And I'm going to try and like cut down on my on-site days next year, but we'll see if that happens, because when I'm at home in my office, I don't feel as motivated as when I'm like around other creative and motivated people. So, and going from different project to project, because my parents asked me about this as well, because when I was telling them about what jobs I had coming up, they were like, do you not like get really worried about constantly meeting new people? Does that not really drain you? And I was like, no, do you know what? No, because my previous job, it was just me and Natasha, possibly Alice. When she started, it was just the three of us in the office, 9 to 5. And then to go from that to meeting new people like every week or every few weeks. And I just really like that. I don't think I'm even necessarily a really sociable person. My social battery drains quite quickly. But I don't know, I just like, at the moment, just hopping from job to job. And I guess that's how I'm expanding my network so quickly as well, which is really important when you're first freelancing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose also, because I'm a bit of the same, like if I interact with a lot of people for a very long time, I can feel sometimes a bit drained in a general context. But actually meeting so many different people in a professional context, most of the time I know that, for instance, I'm going to have a big meeting with a customer or something like that. And then just before, I'm going to spend 2 hours of being in silence in a dark room, basically. So it balances out the rest. Do you actually have this kind of habit, especially if you work from home? Do you get that kind of, I would say, downtime to recover or to prepare?
Yeah, I definitely make sure I've noticed that about myself, actually, is I've always been, I can socialise for a while, but then I really need that recharge time. And I think that's what I found in September, when work quietened down. I was spending a lot of time at home and I felt really lazy. But then I was like, no, I need this. Like, if I don't have this, then I'm not going to be able to go and do my next big job.
Exactly.
So I just needed to remind myself, like, it's okay to be feeling like I'm stuck in this rut, but that's just me needing to recharge.
Yeah, it's accepting also that, your body and mind also need to rest.
Yeah.
I think also there's a little bit in our culture of you need to be productive at all times. But actually, sometimes we forget that in order to be productive, you also need some downtime and to kind of just rest. Actually, So I think it's quite interesting to see that. I think freelancing can give you that opportunity also. And because when you have a full-time job, most of the time you just have to go to the office 9 to 5, or even more so if you are most of the time in the events industry. It's never really a 9 to 5, is it?
No.
But you still have to go to the office and you still have to work and work and work. So it can be also quite draining at the end of the day.
I think that can lead to burnout just as easily as spending, 2 weeks solidly on site. A 9 to 5 job is really draining as well. So you just got to choose what's best for you.
Absolutely. And in most of my previous interviews for Beyond the Green Room, our guests have highlighted how the team, mixed with the nature of the job, often ends up creating the most memorable moments in someone's life. And I was wondering if what was your favorite part of working behind the scenes?
Ooh, good question. I would say I agree with you in there's just so many amazing memories and also friendships, because I feel like a lot of my close friends now, like either I knew before the industry and we're all working together, or I've met through the jobs that I do. I think I really enjoyed this year. I did Gone Wild Festival and I was production office assistant, which was a job that I really liked because I want to be more in production and whether that's festivals or touring or both. And at the headline on the last night was McFly, and I grew up listening to them, and I got to stand on the sound tower and watch I think he must have been the lighting engineer, just absolutely bop away to them whilst he was working. And I was like, this is so cool that I get to watch McFly from kind of behind the scenes. And then because the audience was a lot of young kids, and I was like, this is exactly why I wanted to get into events, because I started going to gigs when I was my first was 9, and then properly from when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I was like, this could be the next generation. And that's why I wanted to do it, to give people these experiences that I enjoyed so much as a kid. Aww. So that was kind of a full circle moment, which is really nice.
That's so cute. I love that answer. It actually links quite very well with my next question, because before the interview today, I asked you one fun fact or fun story, and you actually told me the sweetest anecdote ever. And it sounds like such an unforgettable first experience in the industry. Would you like to tell us a bit more about how you first became interested in your current career
This is
path?
about The Wanted, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, great. So anybody that doesn't know me, you should know that I was the biggest fan of The Wanted when I was growing up. And it was actually quite insufferable, I think, to a lot of my friends and family. But yeah, so I loved them. And then they split up in 2014. And my favourite was always Nathan. And he decided to do a solo career, which kicked off in 2015. So I was 15 at this point, so probably older to know better. But anyway, he announced that he was doing a single, and he was running this competition that you had to get people to nominate you as to why you should go to this exclusive show. And my mum sent in an application without me knowing. And I came home from school one summer day, and she was like, do you think you need to get changed out of your uniform? And I was like, no, I think I'm fine. She was like, no, I think you really should. And then before I knew it, 20 minutes later, Nathan was knocking on my family home. I opened the door and just burst into tears because I'd won this competition. I was one of the girls that had won the competition, and he'd hand delivered the invite to this exclusive show that was happening a couple of weeks later.
That's so cute.
And he spent 45 minutes just talking to me in my house. He walked my dog as well. So we've got lots of photos of that. But the reason why it kind of sparked this interest then into the music industry and events is because he'd brought with him, I think, his tour manager and a videographer. And then at the show, I'd seen all these like young girls actually just working in the background on this show and in the venue. I can't think of where it was. It was somewhere in London. And actually, my mum had then gone up to one of the girls and said, Emily thinks she's really interested in working in the music industry. Can you give her some advice? And then it was after that, me and another friend who were like just really into music and boy bands, she'd come to me at school one day and she was like, oh my gosh, I've seen that some unis do this degree called music business. Like, should we look into it together? She never went through with it. But then from then, I think I was year 11, so I was 16. And I was like, no, I'm set on doing music business. And then that's what I did at uni. So
Wow.
yeah, it was kind of to do with that. I think I just always loved going to concerts, but it's definitely the Wanted and Nathan that sparked it all.
Oh, well, good shout out to Nathan, who apparently changed someone's life.
He actually, to be fair, I did say to him, I met him a few years later at this signing, and it was like a few days before my graduation. And I said to him, I was like, oh, you know, that competition, I think it really inspired me. And he was like, oh, that's lovely. Like, we really need more of you, like in the music industry, more young people like you. And I was like, oh, I'm trying.
Aw. Well, yeah, big shout out to Nathan Sykes. Honestly,
Yeah.
what a dude. That's so cool. And if you could go back to 3 years ago, when you left uni, would you have believed you'd accomplish so much? Because you have accomplished so much. And what advice would you give to your 3 years ago self?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, thank you. I think it wasn't until I won the award this year that I really like kind of reflected back and realized, oh no, I have done loads. And that's kind of been really cool to look back on. And like every year I've, you know, when you set New Year's resolutions, I've always tried to set a target of what I'd like to do. And this year going freelance was, I'd really like to work at Glastonbury as a self-employed person, which I did.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe it. And then next year is like, I want to go on a tour. I don't care if that's a 3-date tour. It's still a tour to me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, yeah, just trying to set realistic targets. But also if I don't get it, then I'm not like going to kick myself over it. But I think, yeah, I'm really appreciative of the people that I've met along the way as well that have kind of helped me. And I feel like I try to give back as well. And I think advice-wise to myself, probably just, it sounds so cliche, but literally just believe in myself more.
Aww.
Because I just feel like I'm quite hard on myself. And especially going freelance was a very long process to trust myself to then take the leap. And I think as well, it probably, if I wasn't with my boyfriend, I wouldn't have done it, because he's a freelancer and he was like, you need to do it. You need to believe in yourself. Like, it's possible. And I think out of uni, I didn't think the option was there for me. I just thought the route was a 9 to 5 and kind of climb the corporate ladder and maybe move to London. But yeah, have faith in that I can do it, I guess.
Yeah, you can do anything, literally. But we actually talked about that with a previous interview with Ollie, where, you know, at the end of the day, you can do anything, even if you're put in a box, whether it is like, I'm a fresh graduate, or if it is, oh, I'm just in the festival, so I can't do anything else, or something like that. But actually, I think if you really, really want to do something, and if you have the right influences around you, you can really achieve anything that you really want to do.
I think that's it. It's definitely knowing the value that you can add to somewhere as well, because that's what I've struggled with, is pitching myself and like the price point that I put myself at as well, like believing that like, no, your event will struggle without me. I can add this value and this is what I can do. And I know that my skills are good, but yeah, just trusting that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and actually, is there one achievement that you're particularly proud of?
I don't think I've got like a real standout, to be honest. Like the award that I won, the UK Music OMG Award, that was really nice. And like, I just kind of went thinking that I didn't have a chance, but it'd be cool to go to Liverpool. And then I came back with that award, and that was really nice to be recognised by my previous lecturers as well, and just know that there's people looking at my work and thinking, wow, this is really cool. And yeah, like I said, working at Glastonbury, that was definitely a highlight.
Yeah. What did you do there, actually?
Well, I was working on the site facilities team. So I kind of got given an area of the festival that I had to go around and, you know, make contacts with the production managers and the trader managers, and all those sorts of important people, and just make sure that if anything went wrong with like their toilets, fencing, showers, then I was the one reporting that back and getting it fixed. Not glamorous at all, but actually I made really good contacts.
That's really good.
Yeah. So the thing is with Glastonbury, it's a place where you just want to go and enjoy, and that was the sort of job where I did my work for 10 hours and then I could clock off and not think about it, which at Glastonbury, that's really nice. Yeah. And there's a lot of festivals that I really want to work my way up in responsibility, but Glastonbury is one of those where I'm quite happy if I stay quite low level, that's okay with me, so I can just go and enjoy it.
And also, to be fair, like, even if you're, you know, as you say, like low priority or low whatever, still needs to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
It genuinely still needs to happen. I think there is no actually, you know, downgrading job or whatever in a festival, because, you know, even if you're picking litters around, this is so key, because if there is not a person doing this, the festival is going to be shambles.
Yeah.
So I think every little bit, every little cog is so important to make the machine run smoothly. Yeah, definitely. And actually, just going back to your today life, what does an ordinary day look like for you?
Oh, it just really depends. If I'm out, then like it honestly could be anything. If it's an event day, say for example, I'm more of a stay at home, work from home vibe, probably go out and get a coffee to start a day, maybe work from a cafe actually. I feel like I work better around people, because then I feel like they're judging me if I'm not doing any work. That's how I used to operate at uni as well. I go to the library to force myself to do it. I don't know. There's not a standard day for me. Like today, traveling to London
to see me,
to see you, and then going off to see a friend. I think that's what I like about it, is that yesterday I went to Alton Towers. And who can do that on just a normal Wednesday? Like, it just doesn't happen. So that's what I really enjoy about freelance. No 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes I'm working at the weekends, or a lot of time I'm working at the weekends, but that doesn't mean that I'm just always working and on the go. I have fun days during the week instead.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, like, because I know that many people struggle with working at the weekends just because sometimes they have a family life around it, and people who actually their only days off are at the weekend. Yeah. So the fact that, you know, you have a kind of you're not on the same schedule can have quite a big impact on your personal life. And how do you keep your work-life balance, actually? Yeah,
I think it can be quite difficult, especially friends that don't work in the industry. Yeah. Trying to make time to see them is really tricky. And as my family as well, it can be difficult to see them. But I if I book a job in, I will really try my best to then keep the next week open. Yeah. So then I can have that time to go and catch up with people, and also catch up on life admin as well. That's the sort of thing that really slips by me. Yeah. And like, I mean, I've still got to sort out what is it? Our Wi-Fi that's gone up in price. We've been charged more for like 3 months, and I still haven't got round to it. So that sort of thing that slips out of your hands now, isn't it? When you've got such a busy external, like, working life, and then just trying to catch up on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think also because most of the time in our jobs, in the prep and in the advancing bits, there is so much admin to do that when you go home, you just do not want to open a piece of paper. Or actually, everything is online, but you just do not want to think about that anymore.
Yeah.
So it can be quite hard to have actually a normal life next to it, and you can be quite behind on some of the stuff.
I feel like I'm really bad with that in terms of messaging as well. I always feel guilty about it if friends or family message, and I've had a really exhausting day on site, and the problem is that all these messages come through on WhatsApp, and I'm always active on WhatsApp because all my work stuff is on there as well. And it looks like I'm ignoring people, but it's honestly like I haven't got the brain capacity to then at the end of the day also answer messages, and I'm really trying to work on that. But that can be a really draining part of it, actually, is just getting back to people's messages.
Yeah, and then you feel guilty if you don't respond either straight away or I remember that I have quite the same problem, and most of the time I just have to kind of, you know how on WhatsApp you have your name and then you have a little message that you can write, and most of the time I'm just writing I'm on a festival, so that people they know that they might have to wait for 4 days or 8 days for me to get back to them.
That's clever, actually. I haven't thought of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my top tip for you. And actually, you mentioned the fact that, for instance, at Glastonbury, you undertook, a different job, and you made quite some good contacts there. As a freelancer, how do you usually find your contracts? And is it mostly through your network, or do you use certain platforms? How do you do it?
I would say the jobs that I've got so far as a freelancer are 40-50% of people, or like clients, are people that I worked with before. So like Cheltenham festivals I worked with straight out of uni, and people like that I've just kind of just kept there, that they still know who I am. And then once I went freelance again, I was like, it's me, please hire me. So that was really helpful. I kind of maintained that. And then I found LinkedIn really useful. I really try and keep that as up to date as possible. And I've actually cold messaged quite a few people. And sometimes that's worked, sometimes it hasn't. But it's never met in like a negative way. I got a job at Bournemouth Sevens this year from doing it, just because I messaged the event manager and I said, these are my skills. I've been to Bournemouth Sevens when I was younger and I'd really like a job there. Have you got anything going? And then we set up a meeting, and then before I knew it, I was on the accreditation team, which was really cool.
That's so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. So then that's like a relationship that is now ongoing. I really want to try and do artist liaison work for them. So that's just a conversation that is happening. And then Facebook groups have also been really useful. I've joined a lot of like women in music and touring crew and all those sort of networks, because there's just constant jobs being posted, which is really useful. And then if I meet anybody on site, I tend to not swap emails with them if I can, because I always find that really difficult to know how to approach it. If like emails are so easy to ignore, and I don't like the thought of them being a dead end. I get their email and then they just don't reply, because either they just don't have the time or they just don't see it. So I like to swap social media, and because I've got a business Instagram now, and that's actually been really useful, because then you're just constantly interacting with each other, and then it doesn't feel weird to message if a job or an opportunity comes up, because you've got that like ongoing connection now. Or the 100%. Same with LinkedIn as well.
And I suppose also because you post regularly either on your LinkedIn or on your Instagram, it means that if they were busy when they received your message, but then they see a picture of you doing some very cool stuff, as you do, it's just a gentle reminder, I suppose. So that's quite cool, actually. Good technique.
It definitely is so much more useful than email.
No, I agree with that. And going into this industry also comes with quite a few challenges. And even, once you are in the industry and even when you're working on a project, it often includes a lot of troubleshooting, and you're often like a backstage hero, really. Do you have a very memorable crisis that you've managed, and how did you pull it off?
There's only one thing that I can remember, and just everybody still takes the mickey out of me for it, when I ordered really inappropriate toilets at the Cheltenham Science Festival. Were you there for that?
Yeah.
And even Christy from Patch, he was taking the mick out of me this year, saying, you haven't ordered any more bad toilets, have you? But genuinely though, that was something that had to be dealt with on quite a serious level. So to go back into the story, Cheltenham Science Festival is a family-friendly event.
Yeah.
And we ordered some nice posh toilet trailers, which then in the boys' toilets had this inappropriate mural on the wall of this lady looking with binoculars at the urinals. And obviously then we had to cover it up. I had to then phone up the toilet hire company and have a conversation with them saying, this isn't okay. And they were going, well, we didn't know it was a family event. And I thought, we didn't really need to explain that to you, considering it's a science festival. So yeah, and then we had to quickly find a way to, cover up the mural because the kids were coming on site soon. And then gave them quite harsh feedback. But I think in as much as it's a stupid story, it's always stuck in the back of my mind now to check things when you're ordering them, and even when they come to site, just triple checking everything and making sure it's what you wanted to be delivered and what you had in mind, because stuff like that can happen and it creates for a funny story. But at the time there was a couple of people who weren't very happy about it.
Yeah, I think we can laugh about it now, and then on the day it was a bit maybe like, maybe we should sort that out.
Yeah.
I love that crisis actually, and well done for managing this. Also another challenge that can't be actually overlooked, especially for women and those identifying as such, is facing certain, I would say, outdated attitudes and the struggle of being taken seriously. Have you felt that you had to sort of man up, to use an also outdated term, and to be taken seriously, and how did you approach that?
Yeah, I think it's a shame that there's still quite a lot of misogyny in the industry, and it's something that I find quite easy to brush off if it comes across as banter. Yeah. Because I can deal with that. That's fine. It's if it becomes anything more, and it's really unfair that girls have to face that. And not only that, but also being taken seriously in there's managerial roles that I've had before on site. So I used to do at Natasha Russell's company, I used to do evictions, and at one of the festivals I was the manager of the area, and on that job I just didn't get taken seriously by the security company that were managing the area with me. They just didn't want to listen to my instructions, even though I was the manager. I was, in charge of them. They were my staff. And I think what doesn't help is that although I'm 25, I could still pass as maybe being under 18. I look young, so it doesn't help that one, I'm a girl, and two, I look young. So people just automatically assume, or men most of the time, will just think, well, what does this young girl know? Yeah. And it's really frustrating. It's like turning up to a new car garage every time, sometimes turning up on site, and it's like, okay, so what older men do I need to impress to be able to be taken seriously? And you've really got to know your stuff for them to be like, oh yeah, she's actually all right. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's only happened in a few cases. There's been some jobs this year, such as Gone Wild Festival. all the crew on that job were so lovely, and a lot of them were middle-aged men. But I turned round to the crew chief on one evening. I was like, "Oh, you won't believe this, but I've got a telehandler license." And he was like, "Actually, I would believe that." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well,
That's so
maybe I
cool.
don't need to prove myself then." So there's some really lovely men out there who clearly have daughters that just like know that they need to treat people with respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been some times where it's just like you just get ignored, and if
Yeah.
there's a man stood next to you, they will happily just turn to that man and talk to him,
Yeah.
even if he is on a more junior role than you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I suppose also as a freelancer, you can also a bit more, I wouldn't say pick and choose, but at least, you know who you work with, and
Yeah.
you can, if you feel comfortable with one project that might happen once a year or something like that, it's easier to say, I'd rather take on this project than
Yeah.
this other project. So I
Yeah.
suppose it's quite
Yeah,
a plus.
100%. If I have a bad experience, then I'll just know, okay, I'm not going back there then. But
Or if you are, at least you are warned of what
yeah,
to
I
expect.
set my boundaries and
Yeah.
know what I'm walking into. Yeah, 100%.
And just, now that we've looked at some of the more difficult challenges, I would say, let's just also look at the positive and lighten the mood a tiny bit. So let's dive into some lighter questions to see what keeps you going. So first question would be, what's your go-to feel-good or pick-me-up song?
Ooh, I've just discovered that, because I never have like a go-to song. I'll go through phases of pick-me-up songs. My song at the moment is KTB and Subfocus, Push the Tempo.
Push the Tempo.
Push the Tempo. It's such a good song. I just think, like, when I heard it, first of all, the start of it sounds like the start of Squid Game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's definitely going to be my like motivator song for the next few weeks.
I love that. I'm definitely going to check it out. And then next question would be, what's your creature comfort?
Ooh, so are we talking food then?
Anything really, but yeah, it could be a cup of tea, like most British people would say.
I never used to be a tea person, but since working in events, I now am onto herbal teas. So
Ooh.
I would stop and have like a lemon or a green tea. In terms of like if I really need some time away, reading is my thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you read?
Novels, like really just tacky thrillers, but I love it because it's like that escape, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your days are so full on and quite serious sometimes. I just like to read, just tacky thrillers.
Yeah, something that keeps your mind out of anything that is bothering you or whatever. That sounds good. What are you reading at the moment? Anything nice and tacky?
Well, at the moment, I wouldn't describe it as tacky because I love Richard Osman. I'm reading,
so good.
I'm reading his last Thursday Murder Club.
Ooh,
What is it? Last Devil to Die, isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah. So I've just started that.
Ooh, it's a very good one. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
I'm a bit scared. It's meant to be quite emotional, so I'm scared.
Actually looking forward to seeing the film too.
Oh yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yes.
Look out for that.
Absolutely. And another question would be, imagine you're creating a survival kit for a events manager, production coordinator, whatever, somebody in our industry. What quirky or unconventional items would you include?
Ooh, maybe like you get the forehead patches when you start getting a headache.
Oh yeah,
that's probably quite needed. But that's probably quite a generic thing, maybe in a survival kit.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I don't know.
And maybe some herbal tea.
Herbal tea, yeah, for sure. Lots of different flavours.
Yes. And I have asked all my guests if they have an anecdote from a celebrity without naming them or with naming them, but with knowing that they are okay with that, that will stay in your mind for a long time, and something that we would call a green room gossip.
Well, going back to the fact that I love reading, when I grew up, I loved Jacqueline Wilson, and I event managed her at the Cheltenham Literature Festival in 2021. Gary was lovely enough to let us swap roles for that particular show, and she signed my book that I got specifically for her to sign. And we just had a big chat about the fact that I wanted to be an author growing up, and one of my friends was working on her Tracy Beaker series, like the latest one at that point, and her eyes just lit up, and I think that was so lovely to see, of like her first generation of readers have grown up, and we're still being influenced by the stuff that she's made. And yeah, that's not really a quote, but that was a really nice experience.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really met many celebrities to have something.
I'm sure you have.
Cool,
That's
yeah.
already a very cool one. And actually, just shout out to Gary Newman, who's an amazing event manager.
He is.
For those who don't know him, but you'll surely meet him at some point if you ever go to a festival, because he's everywhere.
He still parties like he's 20 as well.
Yeah. He's 20. What do you mean? And just looking at your, I'm sure, very brilliant future, going back also and linking to your current freelance role, how would you like to evolve? And if you could organize one event in the world, what would it be and why?
Ooh, good question. So I definitely am planning and trying to move myself into the touring industry. I really want to focus on tour management or production assistance in bigger tours. And so that's kind of where I see myself heading, hopefully. More production roles in festivals. I think, that's my goal for next year is getting on a tour, and also maybe doing an overseas festival. That would be really fun. But I think my main goal is to just keep saying yes to everything that still inspires me and makes me motivated, just like that. And that is in the music industry of events. Just try and get as linked in as I possibly can, and meet really cool people.
Absolutely. Is there a specific artist or a specific show that you would like to tour with?
There's not a specific artist. I always have like in my head, if I'm where I end up in touring is like with a Taylor Swift or a Coldplay or an Ed Sheeran, just because they go everywhere.
They do.
And I think that would be incredible to just see every part of the world on tour, and just like putting on music for, it could be people's first concerts as well that they choose to go to, and being a part of that is just, I just think that would be like life complete if I ever did a tour like that. That'd be so cool.
Well, shout out to Taylor Swift. If you ever need someone super cool on tour, here is your girl. Well, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you.
Do you have any last words you would like to say, or are you happy with everything we've covered?
No, well, I just think if somebody's listening to this, that they're even considering like a creative industry job or like something in events, to just do it, because it's so much fun. And it's always something that like you can leave and come back to, I think. And you just make so many good memories and friends. And it is viable. It is a viable career. And a lot of people still have the misconception that it's really difficult.
Yeah.
But I think if you're motivated enough, it's possible.
Absolutely. That's very wise words. I love that. Absolutely love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories and tips that have marked your path. I'm truly impressed by all you've achieved, honestly. And I have no doubt that I'll be amazed for quite a long time. And thanks for giving us a peek into what it's like to be such a versatile force in the events. And to everyone tuning in, we will uncover some more untold stories and celebrate the people who make all happen behind the scenes.